Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Monday evening. I know how Monday runs for most of us. It's the first day back at work, and it's normally more tiring than the Fridays for whatever the reason. So, thank you all very much for taking time out to be with us. It shows me one good thing about you, though. It shows me that you are committed to getting your future business entrepreneurship or your current business entrepreneurship right. And so that's really very good. You can pat yourself on the back for that. Now, we're going to jump straight in because we've got lots to do and very limited time. So, my name is Minister Hazel Nelson Williams, and I am the director of the Brook Business Network at the Brook Place Church in East London. The head of our church is Apostle Oscar Guabadier and his beautiful wife, Lady Triumph. It's a progressive church. We are not old and antiquated. Well, I mean, personally, I'm older, but we're not old and antiquated. All Apostle Oscar and his wife would love for us and for all the community around the church, the communities in London, and also our satellite churches across the world, is for us to educate our members. Education is key. So once again, thank you to our leaders. Thank you to our media team who are in the background this evening, again, spending their time making sure that this live goes well. Okay, so the aim of the business network, which is a new department in our church, is to empower our members informationally so that we can propel them into their purpose, whether that be business or personal purpose or ministry purpose. The network is a paid membership. And I know right now everything is free. But as I said to you a couple months ago when we were launching it, it won't continue to be so. Why? Nothing is free except salvation. Okay, nothing is free except salvation. So the network is a paid membership, and currently the church's website is being updated by the media team to include a section of content for the Brook Business Network, the BBN. Teaching, workshops, and all, even this live will appear there in a couple of months. And I think our deadline for that is the beginning of November. But I will continue to update you about that. So tonight we're streaming live directly from the Brook Place Facebook page and their YouTube. And also, I believe there is a link on Instagram. Secondly, I would like to say that anything that we share this evening, that I share, or any tips that Andrea shares, is our own personal, in Andrea's case, her business ideas and experience. I am definitely not a financial consultant. And so anything I say, you must do your own research. The financial advisor this evening is Andrea L. Richards, and she will be joining me halfway through this live or a little bit earlier. Okay, so tonight's topic is thriving in a recession. What does the word recession even mean? So let's jump right in, guys. So at the moment, we know that we're in a downturn market. Markets are up and they go down. Normally they call them a bear market or a bull market. A bear market is a downturn market, and a bull market is an upturn market. And they're just terms that the financial industry uses, the banks and so forth. All right. So the simplest way of defining a recession, can we have the first slide, please? Gotta forgive me, I totally forgot about the slides. So the simplest way of explaining or defining what a decline in the market mean, or what the word recession means, is this. Generally, recessions occur when there is a widespread uncertainty or significant drop in production or spending across a country or countries. This drop in spending can be triggered by a variety of different things, diverse things, such as a financial crisis, which we've gone through in 2020, which was triggered by the COVID, and also such as wars, which is what's going on, of course, in Europe with the Russia-Ukraine war, an external trade shock, an adverse supply, or a shock to the economic bubble. However, this current recession has been manipulated by quantitative easing and then heightened by the COVID pandemic and the Ukraine-Russia war. So we've got several things, three things all happening at once. So what in the world is quantitative easing? Now, this is something that I originally struggled with. The first time I heard it on the news, I was like, what? Say that again. And then had to go away. This is a few years ago and learn what it's about. So this is my version. So QE policies include central bank purchases of assets such as government bonds and other securities that direct our lending programs. So each country has a lending program. And normally in this country, in the UK, the Chancellor of the Exchequer is the one that does that. And the programs that he sets every time there is a budget are the conditions or the map or the business plan that he puts into place for the country. Now, what happens when there is a downturn market is that the government or the banks, so the Bank of England in this case, will go off and cash in some of their bonds. They do that so that they can have extra funds to inject into the economy. So if you think about it this way, if you think that you've got a debt or you've lost your job or whatever, and you decide to inject money into your private purse using your credit card, right? So that money is not something that would normally have been in your circulation. You are taking it from somewhere else and putting it into your personal economy. So think of it on a larger scale. That's kind of what the bank does, what the Bank of England does. All right. So the policy of quantitative easing brings about a fall in interest rates. And remember, during the COVID, the pandemic, they actually said that they were going to support the economy during that time. And they did a number of things. You know, they did a bounce back loan, which people, even if they have a bounce back, are still needing to contribute towards or pay back now, right? So the policy is supposed to be a short solution, a short run solution. However, the banks have been using it incorrectly, and this is historically, not just now, and they've been using it sometimes as a long-term measure. Using it as a long-term measure actually makes the economy worse, all right? And then that normally pushes us into a bigger recession or a downturn market than we would have gotten into had they just allowed things to fizzle out naturally. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. All right. So that's quantitative easing. I've done that one. So recessions are considered a natural business cycle and occur every 8 to 10 years. Sometimes they occur a lot faster than that, as we've just seen recently. However, recessions provide an end to the misallocation of investment capital. And what I mean by that is that normally there is this saying that the rich feeds the rich, yeah, and or the poor feeds the rich, whichever way around. So when there is a recession, it creates a mountain of opportunities. There's going to be bargain stocks when stocks fall. There's going to be property that becomes more affordable. So if you've got ready cash, cash is king during a recession. So if you've got ready cash, you'll be able to jump on that property bargain that you may see, or jump on stocks as they fall, sit on them and wait until the prices go up. Now, property is one of the things that my husband and I do, and I'm sure everyone at church already knows that. And if they don't, towards the end, we'll put those details up. However, with property, even when we are in a recession, if you purchase at the correct interest rate, and purchase with other people's money, that means a mortgage or a loan or a gift from Bank of Mum and Dad or whomever, you will find that even though the price of the property goes up, then levels off and maybe takes a little bit of dip, but the price of property always goes up in this country. And the reason for that is that we live on an island. It's a large island, but we live on an island and we are struggling for space. Okay, so there's only so much property that we could build on the acreage of land right from here to John O'Groats and from John O'Groats to Scotland up in the north. Okay, so the property business has historically held up the economy in this country. There's one other thing that there's lots of things in between, but there's one other thing that holds it up also, and that is tourism. But property trumps tourism for this country. And everything that I talk about tonight is more pertaining to how the UK works. But of course, there's going to be some general stuff in there, like quantitative easing, which is also in America, and like how the banks work and so forth. That is general. Recession, of course, is worldwide often. All right. So the recession affects everything, domestically and business. So even though obviously the Brook Business Network is aimed at entrepreneurs, either to help you get started, or for seasoned entrepreneurs to keep you going, this live also will give you tips for families that are employed, or for people that are employed but have a side hustle. Okay. One of the things that I do is that I keep abreast of what's happening, and I do that through the news. But I am very careful not to immerse my thinking into the negative stuff, because negative stuff sells newspapers. Alarming stuff sells newspapers. Alarming stuff causes our news readers to have jobs, right? So listen, do some research for yourself, because not every newspaper, as we know, is going to be telling the truth. Not every newscast is going to be exactly as it really is. Yeah. So listen to keep yourself abreast, of course, but be very careful not to immerse yourself, because immersion into the hierarchy of news, the way it is in this country and most of the Western world, actually will cause fear and will cause your brain to freeze. When your brain freezes, you will be stuck. You won't be able to make an informed decision. So keep yourself abreast, but of what's happening, but be very careful not to cause your head to explode. Yeah, and that's something I've learned over time. Now, I'm going to share with you some tips in general. So now this is not particularly aimed at businesses. This is aimed at individuals first, and then we'll go on to businesses after. So the first tip, please write these down. The first tip, consolidate your debts, right? So if during the upturn market, you've been doing borrowing on your credit card. Credit card, by the way, is supposed to be short-term debt, right? And most banks is 28 to 30 days. After 28 days, you are definitely going to be paying high interest, sometimes 31% on those debts, right? So you have got to make sure that those high interest rate debts are the first things that you clear off, yeah? Or the first things that you consolidate. Sometimes it depends on life, depends on your situation individually. You can't actually pay something off, but you can consolidate it. So for instance, you can take an interest chargeable credit card balance. And if you've got clean credit, you can apply for a zero interest rate credit card. Zero interest rates are normally for 6 months, 12 months. There are some currently that are doing 18 months. And occasionally you can even get a 2-year free interest rate, but they're hard to come by. All right. So now you look for the zero interest rate card. And if you go on to one of those comparable sites, you'll be able to see which ones are doing the best and which interest rates are the best and which ones are doing zero. And you apply for that card. And then you transfer the money from the first card that you owe and that you're paying interest on, and you put it in the zero card for 6 months, 12 months, or whatever the term is that you've managed to find, right? That's one good way of doing it, because why? During that time, you're not paying any interest at all. But you have to be careful, because some of them, in the terms and conditions of the new card, they have a clause that says on new debt, and some of them is on old debt as well. So you've got to kind of figure it out for yourself. Right. So that's the first tip. Consolidate your debts. Yeah. And get your monthly payments down to an absolute minimum. And it's going to be different for all of us, clearly. Homeowners, right? Remember, if you are sitting in bricks and mortar, dependent on when you took your mortgage out, what the mortgage term was in the first place, and so forth, you will be sitting on a pile of money often, right? So during those times, if when I was learning about property, and that's about 20 years ago, the first thing my mentor told me is you're always raising money, right? Always looking for money to invest, right? So the first thing I learned is that if I'm sitting in a house and it's got 100K, 50K sitting in there, right? And I've got more loan, the loan to value ratio is good for me, then I can draw out some of that money that actually belongs to me. Yeah, it's my equity. I draw out that money that's sitting there not working, because money is no good unless it's working for you. Money is a servant and it should be working for you. Write that down. Money is a servant and it should be working for you. So I always have ready cash, so that when we jump into a downturn market and property prices drop a bit, then I'll be able to pick up all of those property deals. Yeah, you don't have to be a multi-millionaire. You don't have to be anything like that to be able to invest in property. It is a really good bet if you first get education and learn how to do it. And we're going to talk about that later. Okay, so the next tip is always remember that there is good debt and bad debt. And what do I mean by that? A mortgage, when serviced properly, is good debt. And serviced properly means you pay on time, right? Serviced properly is good debt. Why is it good debt? It's good debt because it's somebody else's money. That money, actually, the bank says it belongs to them. It's not the bank's money. Whose money is it? It's the savers. The savers put their money into the bank's usable pocket, right? And they earn a small interest rate. At the moment, it's so small, it's insignificant. But when they do that, they're giving the bank permission to invest their money. And that's how the bank pays their staff and earns money and all of that, right? So whether or not you think you've agreed to that, the minute you add savings to an account, you've agreed. All right. So when I borrow on my mortgage or in a loan, I'm actually borrowing the saver's money. Yeah. But it's the bank that comes after me if I default. All right. So always pay off your bad debt. Bad debt is your credit cards, loans, personal loans, and so forth. But a mortgage, when serviced properly, is good debt. Yeah. Okay. So next slide. During a recession, in fact, all the time, before the recession, always prepare for a recession. It happens every 8 to 10 years and sometimes earlier. Always be aware of how you're doing your finances. Get yourself a good accountant, and we've got one of the best in the business, Andrea L, who is my guest, and she'll be coming on soon. Okay, so always save if you can. All right, save as much as you can in a downturn market. This becomes possible if you develop an additional income stream. Yeah. So that is the next tip, additional income stream. Yeah. So a side hustle. I don't know if you bake cakes and you're really good at it, and so forth. You can sell cakes. There's many people, including our lovely sister Ingrid, who does that in our church. There's other people doing side hustles. They're doing fashion, making their own fashion, but still having a full-time job. That's a side hustle. Yeah, I have lots of side hustles. Over the years, I've done many things. I've done a floristry work. I've run a wedding business. I've always done property and so forth. Always have several income streams. Actually, it says so in the Bible. So if we are good, studious Christians, we'd be looking at what's in the Bible and having several income streams. Okay, our next tip, budget, so that every penny is accounted for, right? Be good stewards. Again, that's in the Bible. Budget is budget in your treats as well, especially if you're a family. Your children are going to expect outings. They're not going to understand that it's a recession and a downturn market. They're going to expect a treat. Yeah. So always budget in. When you're doing your family budget, you budget in your shopping. I do not believe, my husband and I are parents of 5 sons. They're all adults now, and we have grandchildren. But when we were growing them up, we always knew, we put up a menu on our fridge door, and our children would be able to see, this week we're having, I don't know, spag bowl or Caribbean dumplings and ackee or whatever, cassava, whatever. Beans on toast in the bad times are beans and rice, you know what I mean? So when you budget, your family gets used to the fact that you are not going to be going to Tesco's every day, going to Sainsbury's every day, going to Asda or Lidl every day, or even every week. I used to buy in bulk. Buying in bulk is good. All right. So always budget. And be very careful that during a downturn market, especially that we are in, and that is going to get even deeper according to the money people and the money markets, that you do not allow your family's focus to be totally on that. And I've said that again, but I'm going to reiterate it, especially with children, especially when they are studying at school. Don't allow them to feel that, you know, we can't do this or we can't do that, and my friends can do it, but I can't. Always budget and treat so they know what's to be expected and know where the boundary lines are. The other thing is, please don't work all the hours that God gives. All you're doing is working yourself into a sickness and into the ground. You are responsible for your health. There are things that you're responsible for. So if you're working and not resting, that means you are heading towards sickness. So be very careful. All right. So next tip. When we were raising our children, we always looked out for what free things, especially during the summer holidays, what free things or discounted things the local councils were putting on or the wider government was putting on. And most families can have access to that. You don't have to be on benefits to access the things that the council is doing for young people. So be very aware of what's available in your area. Okay. So create menus. I've already mentioned that. Shopping can be quite expensive. If you're very close to, your next door neighbor or another family or whatever, do your shopping together. I used to do so with my sisters or my mother or whatever. We do our shopping and then we divvy out and so forth. So buy a big sack of 25 kg rice or sugar or whatever so that we share. And so forth. That really will be helpful to you. Okay. So the other thing as well is your children have skills, right? So the parents that are just divvying out pocket money without teaching their children how to be mini entrepreneurs themselves are doing their children a disservice and themselves a disservice. So whatever you see that your children are skilled at, then foster that skill. Help them. One of our sons, in fact, two of our sons were really good at writing, one at writing poetry and the other at writing prose stories. So they had their books published, one when they was 9 years old, that was Alexander, and the other one when he was 13, and that was Christopher Nelson Williams. And they were able to sell their books. The local library was so interested in them that they would put up events for them to come and meet people and sell their books. Look at what your children are interested in and foster that so that they become mini entrepreneurs themselves. If they're interested in gaming, listen, young people are earning so much money from gaming right now. So if you notice that they're always on the computer, they're good at gaming, then say, okay, you're good at gaming, so I'm going to put you on this free course that I found so that you can learn how to develop your own games. There's money in that. Okay. So, are you a parent with an empty nest? Yeah, my nest is done empty long time. All right. So what my husband and I now do is that we do a little bit. First, we did fostering for many years, and now we do Airbnb or Booking.com. So we've actually turned our home into a mini B&B. And so forth. You could get permission from your local council to do that. If you're just doing Airbnb in London, you have a 30-day for the year, and there are other ways as well to circumvent that. But that's the law. So find out what your local council says you can and cannot do with your own home and so forth. But if you've got one bedroom, you can foster. You go on a course. The course is about 3 months, but it is very lucrative. It's good for you, but excellent for the young person that you're giving a chance to. And again, Airbnb is so good. We meet people from all over the world. We've recently had people come to us from Israel, from Dubai. We've recently had people come from America, Germany last weekend. So yeah, we get to meet people. We love meeting people, and it's lucrative. The minimum you can charge, really, if you're doing it through, excuse me, as I have some water, through Booking.com is £100 per night. And then Booking.com will take a percentage of that. You'll probably lose £17. You'll have to provide at minimum, cereal and toast and tea. But it's brilliant. Okay, so so next slide. Do you have writing skills? I don't know, my throat. Pray for my throat, people. So, do you have writing skills or editing skills or proofreading skills? That is very lucrative little side hustle. Are you a fashionista? Are you really good at putting colors together, either for rooms or for fashion? That's really, really good. Get ready to come on, Andrea, because if my voice goes, you're on. Are you fantastic at creating rooms and so forth? Rebrand yourself on your social medias, and you'll be able to earn good money doing that, even if you are working full time, especially in wedding season. People that are really good at decorative, have decorative skills, can really earn some money helping somebody out with their wedding. So remember, even if you are parents that are working full time, you still can have side hustles. Dennis and I did it for years when we were raising our children, and we raised 5. It is very possible. And we know many women in our church, single and married, or with partners, that are doing the same. Now, so far, we have looked at general tips in a downturn market. If you've got any questions, we will take your questions towards the end. Please put them in, and the media team in the back will collate them. And if we have time, we'll be able to answer them. So now I'm going to move on to business. And we've got probably about 10 tips, I think, here for entrepreneurs or existing businesses. So one thing I must say, if you use or develop any of these ideas today, right? And I'm saying it tongue in cheek, but I really mean it. Yeah. Then please contribute towards our building fund at the Brook place, because everything that we're doing this evening is towards the Brook Place education and the Brook Place building fund eventually, when we start charging for these. So, and if you develop something from any of these tips, then please put a little offering into our building fund. I'm sure you'll be blessed from that. So now, tip 1, increase your income streams or side hustles. We've said that already, and we're saying it again. It is really important. If you expect to increase your finances, you need to increase the avenues in order to get money in. And that's important whether you are an entrepreneur, seasoned or unseasoned, right? Some things will be immediate and will propel your income stream, and some things will be community-led and involve you getting known, maybe through giving, maybe through running some free classes in your community. I've done that. Run free classes, and then people got to know what I do and then paid me to do stuff and to help them. So it really depends on what your hustle is, what your skill is, what your purpose is as well. The best way to earn money is through your purpose. Why? Because you will be happy in your work. The worst type of work is when you are not happy at what you're doing. You're doing it just for the money. If you're doing something for money, it means you are the servant to the money. But if you're doing something for your purpose, money is your servant. Yeah, money then comes to you. You don't run after money. I no longer run after money. From the moment I discovered that money is a servant, nobody runs after their servant. Servant runs after the master. So the minute I discovered that money is a servant, I became the master of the money. And that's just a mindset thing. So change your mindset, change your life. Now, for instance, during the food shortages, during the pandemic recently, there was lots of panic buying, and small artisan bakeries were beginning, that normally would just do bread or something. They were producing other things as a side hustle. They were producing different types of bread, so olive bread or seed bread or breads with fruit in it and so forth. They could not open their shops, so they began to sell online. They began to use their social medias to sell and so forth. It's free. Your social media is free. Stop chat people business on Facebook. Stop chat people business on Instagram. Stop chat people business on Snapchat, and use those social media platforms to benefit your family and your community. It's not about backbiting people. It's about helping people. Help somebody and you naturally begin to help yourself. Okay. So, point two actually is look for opportunities in your field of work. Okay, we'll go on to the house thing in a minute. Your hobby or your passion. My hobby was fashion and floral decoration and so forth. So years ago, we created businesses around our hobby and our passion. My husband's passion has always been cars. He's always fixing a car or fixing somebody else's car or whatever. So again, that's what he did. He used his passion to bring extra income into our home. Be yourself. Find your niche. Don't get all uptight about it. Discover what your USP is, your unique selling point. It could be your personality. It could be that somebody wants to use your personality on their lives and so forth. Sell yourself, find your niche, find your passion. It could be that you're a vegan and you want the whole world to become a vegan. So then develop vegan products and so forth. Vegan skincare products are a big thing right now. Men's beards as well. I don't know. It's not my thing. If my husband had a beard, I don't know if I'd be able to kiss the man. But I don't know how you ladies are doing it with the beards. But if you're into beards or your husband has a beard, then develop skin creams or special creams and oils and so forth. That's a big business right now. Men's skincare and men's beards. Don't ask me about the beards. It's not my thing. It's not my thing. Sorry, Apostle. Beards are not my thing. I developed my own range of herbal teas as one of my side hustles. So common ailments. And I did that because actually, you all know that I often suffer with joint issues. So when the doctor put me on some medicine that was making my hair fall out, hair and black women, ain't about that. So I then went on a herbal course, became a qualified herbalist, and now I have a business, a side hustle called nanasteapot.com. I haven't made it my main business. I still keep property as our main income, but nanasteapot.com. Go on there, have a look, and you will find that there are teas and other herbal products. We grow our own herbs and we make our own products. So it's all 100% clean. And we did that in a downturn market. We started that in 2010 when we were just coming out of a downturn market. Are you a florist? Lots of florists have, I don't know if you've seen on the, Instagram and so forth, a lot of florists are now doing letterbox flowers. There was never such thing when I was younger. You wanted flowers, you would go to the florist or go to Tesco, Sainsbury's or whatever. Now they're finding particular flowers that can be flat packed. They're also going to growers and getting the flowers when they're in buds, just bud before they flower properly. And then they're doing letterbox flowers. Listen, that's amazing. Just think outside of the box. Look at the things that interest you and turn it into your side hustle. Okay, so property again. Property is a staple product and business in this country. If you buy correctly, and that means getting education to buy. So if you buy correctly, you can't go wrong. You only go wrong when you don't buy properly because you've not been educated and you get the wrong tenants in and so forth. Even recently, actually, the government has decided that they are going to scrap Section 21, which means if you are a landlord and you're listening on here and you don't already know that, get to know that come September, you will not be able to use Section 21 to get non-paying tenants out of your property. You will need to use Section 8. My guest speaker is an expert in that area as well. And so if you ask that question, I'm sure she will oblige and answer it. If you are an investor of stocks, and shares. Keep your ear to the ground, right? Do your research all the time, and listen for the signals that will tell you when a stock is falling and when you should jump in and buy it up. Okay, so stuff, good stocks, and good things to get into are the things that we use every day. So you could buy sugar stocks, but listen out for, okay, the area that they grow, the part of the world that they grow sugar in, are they in a drought or something like that? Because the plants are not going to grow. So use your noddle and excuse me, and find out for yourself what's going on sorry, in the world. Okay, so during 2020, when they said that there was a food shortage and people couldn't find flour in the supermarkets, my husband and I, actually, it was my husband's idea. He rang up the local flour mill, the nearest one to us, which was actually in Hertfordshire. And he asked them, is there a shortage of flour? And the owner said, no, there isn't a shortage of flour. So he said, so why isn't there flour in my supermarket? And they told him that actually it's not the flour that's short, it's the bags, the packages to put the flour in. So he said, okay, can I come and buy 25 kg bags of sackfuls of flour? They told him, are you a business? Send across your business credentials. We sent across one of our businesses. We happen to run the Nelson Williams Foundation, which is a not-for-profit organization, and we sent that across. They said, no problem. He turned up the next day and picked up his order, van load of flour. Did we buy all that flour for ourselves? No. We bought that flour. We then got a volunteer team together. We decanted the flour into smaller packages, and then we gave it away free to local families that were struggling or on benefits. We also gave some away to food banks and so on. We became known for that. And even recently, people are still asking us, as we get into this new recession, if we can do so again for them. Now, we were doing so free because we could afford to do it. But do you know that we also picked up shops that could not, bakers and so forth, and other businesses that could not find flour for themselves. So we were also able to do that for them and earned money on the side so that we could then put back into the charity stuff that we were doing for free. It was crazy, really. But it was down to the fact that the bags that were made in China and the bags that were made in India and the other parts of the world like that, they could not transport it over to the Western world because of the COVID and the lockdown. So we were able to help that way. Listen, always have your ear to the ground so you can find out what's going on and find out who to help. Now, of course, on all of the socials, eBay, Facebook, Instagram, Amazon, Fiverr even, all of those platforms, you can make yourself known and find out how to help people or help yourself. Of course, this was a temporary side hustle. But again, as we go into this new recession, we'll probably get our volunteer team together and do it again. But I'm not saying you need to volunteer. You could do it as your side hustle and sell groceries. All right. Now, the main thing that you need to do is to create multiple income streams. Write that down again. It's so important. If you do not create rivers of money, then how rivers of opportunities to get money, then how are you going to increase what you have? You need to make increase. Even in the Bible, we all know the story of Joseph, and that he was able to use his skill, which was interpreting dreams, in order to save a whole nation called Egypt, and also the nation called Israel. He was able to help them in a downturn market, right? You need to become as clever and as cunning as spiders. If you notice spiders, they position their webs to catch the best flies, right? So we have fruit trees in our garden and on the land. So in the summer, we will find lots of spider webs all over the trees because they are positioning themselves to catch the fruit flies. Be as cunning as a snake and as cunning as a spider. Right. Now, identify solutions, right, that of the problems that other people are facing. If you are the solution maker or the solution giver, you'll be able to create income streams for yourself. Okay. Now, services. Do you have a skill that others don't have? So make sure that you find out what other people's weaknesses are, what other businesses' weaknesses are, and then make yourself the strength for that weakness. Are you a marketeer? You know, I'm terrible at marketing and branding. And so therefore I use other people's skills to help me with that. I'm terrible at accounting. So therefore I use an accountant to help me with that. Yeah. So I capitalize on my strengths and I use other people's strengths for my weakness. It's really important. Make yourself known and you'll be able to earn from your strengths. All right, next slide. So this is so important, this one. Try something new or rehash something old. Try collaborating with others. You know, don't feel that you are the only one that's really good at something. You know, find out who's doing the same thing. If you're in a community, a church or a local community, find out who's doing a similar thing to you. Learn from them and teach them what you know, and then collaborate, because there is strength in unity. Yeah. Classic example, really, is in our church. We have so many ladies and men that are really good chefs. Yeah, collaborate, get together, get a chef group on WhatsApp, find out who's got the best practice and help each other that way. So get ready for my guest. She'll be coming on shortly. So creating a niche, do some research in what your local area needs as well. If you become an expert in your local area, boom, that's money for you. Money through services or money through products. Find out what your local area needs, and you'll be able to do that because every area has an enterprise department. Yeah. And sometimes that enterprise department has really good loans sometimes, as well as grants. Find out what's in your local area. Don't be afraid to try something new. Yeah. And definitely find out about the people that are offering services that you need, such as accounting. Yeah. Okay. So now I am going to introduce, I'm going to bring her on shortly, but I just want to big up this very intuitive, very skilled lady. So my guest's name is Andrea L. Richards. I met her recently when I went to Dubai. She has business connections all over the world and clients from all over the world. Her business is called Accounts Navigator Associates. And Andrea is going to come on just now. She is the founder and finance director of a multi-award winning company, yeah, called Accounts Navigator and Associates. Yeah, she has an accountancy practice. I don't don't plan to bring on low-key people. We will be bringing into the business network high net worth people that can help us. Yeah. For 19 years, she's run this company. I'm so very proud of her. And for 31 years, Andrea has been in the accounting and business sphere. She continues to help clients all over the world. She doesn't just say that she is our accountant or my accountant. Andrea says she is our business partner and a very important part of that, because through her skills, she will save you money and make you money. And I'm just going to bring her in right now. So, Andrea.
Evening, Hazel. Evening, everybody. How are we all doing?
Hey, girl. How you doing?
I'm good. How are we all doing?
Yeah. We're doing good. We're doing good. So, I have some questions that have been fielded to us that I'm going to ask you. Yeah, if you don't mind at all.
Okay.
But one of the things that I want to also ask you to do first is to tell us about these wonderful awards that you've won.
Okay, so I've been in business 19 years. I've had my practice for 19 years, and I never really believed in awards. But for marketing purposes, you really need awards. I mean, I've grown my business I'd say for the first 15 years, just by word of mouth, and we did very well. But if you want to go to that next level, you need to start marketing yourself. And so I'm out there marketing myself so that I can reach exceptional levels. And so my marketing coach told me that I needed to go out and get awards for all the good work that I'm doing. So we've started putting ourselves forward for these awards. So in 1920, I won a B Mogul Award, and that's for just being a great accountant. That was via NatWest.
You mean 2020?
In 19/20, they call it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I became a B Mogul, Black Entrepreneur Mogul. That was given to me by NatWest Bank. In 2021, I won Best Boss. I was put forward by my team. I have 8 staff members, and they put me forward as Best Boss for all the encouraging work that I did for them. And I also became Entrepreneur of the Year with the Baton Awards. And this year we are up for Best Business Services Award, Best Tax Accountant for the year, and Best Black Ethnic Business of the Year.
Wow. And are any of those awards, public generated? So we'll go on and vote for you and stuff like that.
No, you're voted for by industry experts. So, for instance, the NatWest one was the NatWest Bank. They decided who was going to win that. And the Best Boss Award last year, that was voted for by industry experts again. And all mine are industry expert done. They're not just, popularity votes.
Yeah.
And that, because
I am super proud of you, girl. You should be super proud of yourself. That is an amazing catalogue of awards. We're so very proud of you.
Thank
and
you.
So very honored to have you join us on this live and to help me launch this business network. And I want for you all to know that Andrea also advises my businesses, and we follow what she does on her social media and put into practice anything that drops from her mouth. We're just picking it up like fruit. I'm telling you, she is absolutely brilliant. So now, Andrea, in your opinion, this is one of the questions: are we in a recession or heading towards one?
Okay. We're not in a recession at this moment. but we are definitely heading towards one.
Mm-hmm.
And that they're predicting, the Bank of England is predicting that we will be in a recession by the last quarter of the year. So from October onwards, they reckon our GDP is going to drop and that we will be in a recession and that. But we have to wait and see. I mean, these recessions come and go all the time. So I think the last major one was in 2008. So we are due one.
Yeah. I mean, we had a mini recession during the pandemic, but that was manipulated, you know. So, of course, you are very correct. 2008 was a huge downturn market, and the property market crashed completely during 2008, and not just in the UK. It crashed worldwide, in America. In fact, it was worse in America than here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. And I know a lot of property people that started buying property in America for no other reason than it became so cheap. People were picking up property at 30K and stuff like that. And I mean, 6-bedroom houses and mad. Yeah, that really, really mad. Okay. So if we are not in a recession, but we're heading towards that, what's your best 5 tips for the people, for the listeners, whether they're businesses or not?
Okay. You have to build an emergency fund. Yeah. So we always advise our clients that you need to have at least 6 months worth of income or 6 months worth of monthly spend just put away so that you can survive. And that you don't know what's going to happen in the recession. You don't know if you're going to be affected. And so you need that emergency fund put by.
Yeah.
And that we also need to live within our means. Yeah. Stop spending unnecessarily. Eliminate as many expenses as you can that are just not needed, and assess your personal budget. Yeah. Everyone should have some form of budget planner. Assess your personal budget, get rid of things that you don't really need, and that so that you're only having to pay for things that are essential, and get rid of any high debt that you have. So, and if you have credit card, high debt payments on those, get rid of them, and that try and get rid of all those debts now so that when the recession does come, that you're ready. The additional streams of income, I've heard you talking about that today, Hazel, and that is just so important. You know, everybody can't survive on your paycheck, on your one paycheck. And so it's definitely get the additional streams of income, index funds, YouTube videos, affiliate marketing, photography work, and that, because you can sell that to people like Shutterstock, and iStock Photos, and that sell those. If you're going to get a credit card, get a cashback credit card. Yeah, currently Amex are doing 5%, and that 5% cashback.
Let me just write that one down for myself.
It's a big one. Yeah, it's really good. And that, but only do that if you can clear it off at the end of each month. Sell products on the internet. Again, you talked about property, invest in property. And if you were talking about having spare rooms in your home, if you don't want to foster and that, just get a lodger. The first £7,500 of rental income is tax-free. So that's your money. So get a lodger and utilize the spaces that you have. All things like that. I would say as well, if you have investments, diversify your investments. Don't have everything in one pot, and that, because we don't know what's going to happen. And think about the long-term approach, because even though it might go down, it will always come back up, because it always does. And that is the circle to this whole
property.
So, you know, it's a long-term approach, and, you know, you must pay your bills on time. So keep your credit score high. Because, you know, like you said before, there's good debt and there's bad debt, but you want to make sure that you've got that high credit score so that you can always get good credit. And those would be my 5 tips. Definitely.
Okay, wonderful. So within those 5, I heard you mention index link. Now I know what that is, but can you explain that to our audience, please?
Okay, so index link funds, I specifically have an account with Vanguard. They're one of the best out there, and they have really low fees. Basically, they invest in the top 500 companies in the world. And if you put your money in index funds, you're going to be okay. It's steady money and it will grow. and that. Some people like to get a managed fund within stock manager and do stocks and shares that way. You are better off putting your money in the world index funds, and that, working with the best 500 companies in the world, your money will grow. Yeah,
that is actually an amazing tip. And I have to be honest, one of the things that I do, but had forgotten to put in my slides. So thank you for that. That is an amazing tip. The other thing is, of course, is that some people are talking about crypto and all that. What's your advice on that?
If you can't afford to lose it, don't do it.
Brethren,
literally.
Trust me.
Yeah, I haven't got money to lose. I ain't putting my money in crypto. Yeah. I want my money to work for me. Crypto is, it's too erratic for me. And I wouldn't put my money in there. Yeah. I wouldn't put my money there.
And nothing wrong with crypto, but if you're doing it, make sure you get education before you do that. Okay. All right. So I've heard you mention credit score. What is it?
Okay. So your credit score is how you are measured on if you can pay or not. Yeah. So, it's important that you keep your credit score good, because if you want to borrow money, then, they're going to look at your credit score and see if you're a good payer. It measures, if you pay your bills on time, if you've defaulted on paying your bills. It shows people how much you owe. Yeah, so you need to keep your, people have the option to go into your credit score and see if you're a good payer or not, if you pay your bills on time. And so that information is there for, for people to see if you want to lend money from people. So that's what.
So if you want to borrow money from people, that's really, really very important. And in terms of income, having an emergency fund, you've mentioned, strong credit through your credit score, you've mentioned, multiple streams of income, we've both mentioned, and living within your means. But which one would you put at the top?
Me, it's the emergency fund. We just never know what's around the corner. And so it's really important that you have money aside that you can rely on if you lose your job, if, it's just important to have money put aside that is there for that emergency. If something happens to your roof and it needs fixing, you need to fix it. You need to have money put aside. And that. So it's always important to have an emergency fund that you can access.
Yeah.
There's no point in having an emergency fund where it's 30-day access.
Yeah.
Exactly. You want something that you can immediately access, and so that because it's for an emergency, that's the whole idea of it. So it's important. My thing is the emergency fund.
Yeah. And what's your thoughts on insurances for particular emergency funds, especially as homeowners?
I have always had insurances for absolutely everything. So that I'm covered. I believe it's really important to have an insurance policy. Obviously you need it for your car, you need it for your buildings insurance, all these things. You just don't know what's around the corner. And if you have an insurance policy, then, they're going to cover it for you. Insurance is important. Yeah,
very, very important. And make sure you read the small print, because sometimes people fall into the issue. Like recently, unfortunately, we've heard on the news last week of a whole street that was burnt because of the dry weather that we're having and so forth. And some of those homeowners that had paid off their mortgages, because of course, if you have a mortgage, the mortgage lender asks to see the insurance. But once you've paid off the mortgage, some people forget that they have to take out the insurance off their own back. And now they've lost their homes, and some people won't have insurances, unfortunately. So it is so important. Again, you can shop around on the money market platforms and so forth to find the best insurances. But for me, I have an insurance for everything, just like you. It is so important. Definitely. You can have insurances also, I discovered recently from my insurance provider, that covers your investments even. So there are so many different things out there. It's really worth exploring, and maybe as one of the topics that we'll cover in the future, we may get you on with an insurance provider or an insurance expert. So let's pencil pencil that one in. Okay, so my next question is in regards to budgeting and saving. What are the 5 main rules to improve your financial health?
Okay, so I would definitely, you must have a budget, track everything. If you're a smoker, put your cigarette money in there. Have everything in there. You mentioned earlier when I was listening, Hazel, about, treats for the kids. All those things are important. So make your monthly spending budget, and that we have a planner that a budget planner that we give to all our clients, because it's important for us to find out as their accountant, what they need to live on, and it needs to be really comprehensive. So make sure that you do a budget. Distinguish between your short-term saving goals and your long-term saving goals, and that. So always ensure that you do that. Track your spending. It's no good having the budget and then not having your actuals against it. Track how you're actually spending your money. Insurance policies go up. So, you may be paying £100 every month this year, but next year it could be £150. You need to keep the budget up to date. Track your spendage. Separate your fixed costs from your variable expenses. So that not everything you pay for every month, but there's certain things that are going to come up throughout the year that you need to pay for. And make sure that those are always in your budget. And
that's really good. One of the things, actually, just to add to something that you've mentioned there in tracking the budget, is direct debits and standing orders. They, especially with a busy household or a busy business, honestly, I went on my direct debits the other day and discovered that I'm paying domestic and general, right? So every appliance that I have, especially in the properties that I own, I don't want, my tenant's fridge to break down and it's not covered by an insurance. So, okay, if it's a new appliance, I have. But then I went through, there's about 20 of them on there. Some of them was for fridges that I had 2 years ago that I've done replaced the fridge. I had to say to my husband, we need to be more on top of this, because the busier you are and the bigger your business, the more things that you need to track. So that was one of the things that I learned just when I came back from holiday the other day. I was like, what's all of these things coming up?
Can I say with that, Hazel, as well, that don't automatically just take the renewal. With them kind of policies, because they always increase it, but there's always somebody else doing exactly the same thing for a lot less, so every year don't just automatically take your renewal prices that they're offering you. Always look around on that, because you will save money that way, guaranteed.
That's a brilliant tip. So how important is a business plan these days, my dear?
Okay, well, if you want to borrow money, you're going to need a business plan. So if you want your business to grow and you need investment of some kind, be it investors, angel investors, money from the bank, it doesn't matter who you want to borrow the money from, you're going to need a business plan. They're going to want to see what you want the money for, how your business is going to grow. Those things are going to be essential. So a business plan for me is always essential. Every client that comes to me has to do a business plan. And that for me makes sense, because over the 19 years since I've had my practice, the businesses that had business plans and keep their business plan up to date, because your business plan is not just what you start with at the beginning. You should be updating that business plan year on year, and that because things change, the business changes, the business grows. So you should definitely, update your business plan so that you can follow through. The businesses that have had one, they're still going.
Wonderful.
The ones that don't come with a business plan and don't do a business plan, they don't know where they're going.
Well, I mean, if you don't have a plan,
then,
it's like filling up your car with petrol, and then getting behind the wheel and starting on the M25, but you don't know which junction you got to get off. You know what I mean? So a business plan, it's like a map, isn't it? That you upgrade all the time.
Yes, all the time.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Okay, so one of the things I've always found difficult in the plan, and that's me personally, and I know a lot of people listening have that issue, is the bit where you've got to say the forecast. You've got to be forecasting sales and income when you've not even started the business yet. How do we circumvent, or how do we kind of, get through that section of the business plan?
get an accountant to help you.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm not even like, I always say to people when they're starting a business, come to your accountant at the beginning. Yeah, when you have that idea, when you have, do it at the beginning. A lot of business owners, they'll come to you 12 months after their first year and say, oh, I need my accounts doing. But your accountant can't help you with what you've already done. Yeah, so go to them at the very beginning, and then we're helping you from the beginning. We can help you draw up your cash flow forecast. Yeah. One of my tips for drawing up a cash flow forecast is, worst income scenario against most expensive overheads and expenses. And if you can break even and make a profit that way, you're on to a winner. And that. So, we always, that is key for any business plan. Don't overstate your income. Make it the worst case scenario. And that against the most expensive scenario when it comes to your overheads and expenses. And that's really definitely good. Get an accountant, and that, because this is what they specialize in, this is what they do. Yeah, and it's always good to have people that know what they're doing to help you to get further. Yeah. Utilize the people around.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And of course, this would be a good segment before we go on to the next question, for you to actually tell the listeners where they can find more information about you, or your website even. And the media team will put your website details up on the screen.
Okay, so my business is Accounts Navigator Associates. We've been established for the last 19 years, and you can find us at accountsnavigator.com.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So business media team, please put that up on there so that our listeners can have access to that. So winding down, we've got a couple more questions left. So we know that you're not a banker. We know that you are an account expert, right? That can advise someone, right? So say I have 25K right now, right? Per se. This is just per se, people. Come and tell me. So you are part of a 25K. But say I have 25K, or any listener has 25K, right? How would you advise us to grow that 25K right now?
Me, Vanguard World Index Fund.
Okay.
For me, that's something that I do. If you want to invest money, and that, don't get someone to manage your stocks and shares for you. Don't even try doing it yourself. Literally, your money is going to be safest in a world index fund. And that, I truly believe that. And that's a waste of time putting it in the banks, because there's no interest there.
There's no interest
you
right
earn
now.
anything on your money.
Yeah.
Whereas with the index fund, it's always growing. It's always growing. And so I would do that. I don't know if 25 grand is going to afford for you to buy property, because I believe in property as well. We have a lot of property ourselves, and so property is always a good investment if you can use that as a deposit. But I don't know if 25 grand is going to be enough to do that. But for me, it would be in the World Index Fund or property.
Okay. All right. And as the property expert on here, I can definitely tell you that 25 to 30K can get you a lovely property, whether it be commercial or residential, up north. So if you want to hit me up about that, I also run courses and earn money. It's my main business. So I earn an income helping other people invest their money into property. So hit me up at the end for that. So last question. What is a personal spending plan? So we've been talking about budgets and so forth, but what is a personal spending plan?
Okay, for me, that is your budget. Yeah, your personal budget. And that, and like I said, you should record everything exactly as you spend it. Yeah, record it. So that you can work out exactly what you need in your life to spend on a monthly, or if you get paid weekly, then do a weekly budget. So that you can work that out. This way, you know what is left after you've paid all your bills, and you know what you can invest each month. Now, one of the things I learned quite a while back was, we all like a few luxuries every now and again, but if you're going to have a luxury, also have that same amount of money ready to put in investments. So if you're going to spend £100 on a handbag, have £100 to spend in investments. If you don't, then you can only afford a £50 handbag and £50 in the investment. Because if you're investing, your money's going to continue to grow, even though you're spending. So have that personal, spending budget will work out exactly what you're spending each month for your bills, your household bills, all the essentials in your life, and then you'll know what's left that you can spend on investments and luxury spending. And that's what I do.
And what about our children? If you're a large family, how early do you think you should start teaching your children this skill?
It was quite funny. I wanted to be an accountant from 9. So my mum had educated me. And I was always good at maths. And my mum had always educated me on, money and that. And so that was my big thing. I used to save a lot as a youngster. I'd try and make money doing everything and anything and that to make money. So educate your children as early as possible. But what I did do with my 2 boys was when they reached 18, I got them a credit card to build up their credit rating so that they were ready to buy property. And I cleared it every month, you know? So whatever their monthly income was, they were allowed to spend that on a credit card, but clear it every month. So, get your car petrol on it, pay for your bus fares on it, your travel expenses on it, buy your lunches on it, but then clear that each month. And that will build your credit rating up. And that, because like I said, there's good credit and there's bad credit, but if you clear it each month, it's worthwhile having those credit cards to teach your children how to spend their money.
And I actually believe that if you are going to clear, we both talked about clearing a credit card, but if you're going to clear your credit card, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should close it. A lot of people think that clearing your credit card means closing it. You need to keep those streams open.
Yes, definitely. And that, and it can be there for an emergency also, and that, but clear it down as quickly as possible. They say you should only use 70% maximum of the credit limit that you have with your credit card. Otherwise, it doesn't look good on your credit rating, and we don't want to affect our credit ratings. So don't go over 70% of the credit that you've been offered on your credit cards. But teach children how to spend their money wisely, and I've been doing that. I don't know if it's just because I'm an accountant, but it's very important, and the school system actually needs to change and start training people from how to live rather than how to just get a job. And that, because you're not going to make all the money in the world by just having a job. You need to be able to work for yourself, building these income streams and that for yourselves. So teach your kids that too.
Teach your children. And yes, I mean, the whole thing about the school system and the way it's set up, particularly in this country, is a whole next live that we need to address. Maybe we need to do a live just for young people, or do a live for schools or something, because I'm telling you, in their PSHE department, which is where they would learn that, they're definitely not teaching it properly.
They're not.
So it's something that we really need to address. Well, I've come to the end of that set of questions, and we're going to be able to take 2 questions directly from the floor. So over to the media team to see whether there are any questions that have come in that are different to the ones that Andrea's already answered. So there we go, Andrea. What risk factor what's the risk factor in the World Index Fund? And that's coming from Carol Ann Gordon.
Okay, so I mean, I've been doing this for quite a while, and money, it goes up and it goes down, but you are more likely to make money. And that the basis of the World Index is that they're doing the top 500 businesses in the world, in America. And these businesses are constantly growing. So therefore, because your money is spread across these 500 businesses, you are more likely to go up than you are to go down.
To go down.
And the saying is that, don't look for the needle in the haystack, just buy the whole haystack. Yeah. And that's what you're doing with the 500, investing in these 500 top businesses, and that you're going to do okay. I think the risk factor is really low.
Yeah. Okay. And one of the other questions that came through was, do you believe that people could invest and operate a side hustle through Forex?
Yeah, these things take time because you have to concentrate on these things for you to do well in them. Yeah. So for me, I just put my money in the world index because it's the easier option and you don't have to watch it every minute. Yeah, you're going to do okay in that. When you're doing things like Forex, you have to sit there. I had a business owner that I used to work alongside before. And when it was in 2000, when the crash happened in 2008, he used to make a lot of money by just having his money sitting in the bank. He used to get good interest payments and he was happy with that. That stopped. And so therefore he didn't know what to do with his money. So he was there doing Forex, sitting there day in, day out, watching to see if it was a good time to sell, a good time to do this, good time to do that. That neglected his business because he was so busy just staring at his computer screen, watching his things go up and down, that it was irrelevant. Yeah, he took his eye off the ball on his business, for some money on the Forex. Things like that for me, where you have to spend too much time doing things like that and take your business off the overall picture. I don't think, no, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, so it's all about focus and it's all about education because in my own family, one of my sons is a Forex trader, but he actually got some education in order to do that. He's also a teacher, so he's trading, doing his Forex maybe an hour every day, first thing in the morning before he goes off to school. He's not spending his time looking at the screen at all. So I suppose it's horses for courses, and it depends on your time factor and your ability to learn these things as well. So following on from that, Susie Mutanda has asked, what is the lowest you can invest into this index fund?
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. My investment wasn't too low. But I'm sure you can go in there with £100. I'm not sure. But definitely Vanguard are the best people to go with on the basis of their low fees. Yeah. And I've heard that time and time again. And that from different people that invest with Vanguard on their world index. So look up Vanguard online and look at that. And I'm sure it will tell you on there exactly how much.
Wonderful. And we've got another question in from Carol Ann Gordon. Thank you, Carol, for being so supportive. Would you say that the world index is long-term, medium-term, or short-term?
Well, I think when it comes to stocks and shares in any format, that these are long-term. These are definitely long-term investments.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, my dear friend, for your time, for your acuity, for, just spending time. It felt like just chilling with you. And I'm sure that the audience felt the same. Funke's just put up a question. Okay, we're going to have to make this one the last one. How much roughly would be needed to deposit in a property in London? You're a property expert as well as I am. So let's go with you.
Okay, so they've currently got mortgages out now where, for property investment, I think you need 25%.
Yes.
A 25% investment.
Yeah. And 25% plus the fees.
Yeah, plus the fees, your legal solicitors and all that. You need that 25% deposit.
Yeah. On an average, in your opinion, what's the average price of a property in London anywhere?
It's expensive. Like literally, I would go north. Like you said, I would definitely go up north. Is London gonna actually be worth its while? By the time you pay for the house, and, you know, do it up, and are you going to get the return that you need on it? Not specifically.
Sure.
The mortgage is going to be quite high because the properties are high. They cost a lot of money. You go up north, you're going to be better off.
And I would definitely say to you, Funke, and anybody else that's interested in that, is that it's all on a ratio. So say, for instance, now, as Andrea said, you put your 25% into the property, and on average at the moment, the cost of a 2-bedroom in the cheapest part of London, you'll be looking at 450,000 anyway. So you need 25% of that. You need the cost of the solicitors' fees and the conveyancers' fees and so on. You need the cost for your accountant, because they normally need to write some form of letter to the mortgage company and so on. And then on top of that, now when the rent comes in, the rent index is not going to be a different ratio to the ratio of the rent index up north, but the price of the mortgage up north is going to be a lot lower. So for instance, one of the properties that my husband and I bought during the lockdown, because it was, you know, during the lockdown, it was a recession. So we picked up some cheapie, and we only needed to put 30K as a deposit, including all the fees into that. And we only pay a mortgage of 300 a month, but we're able to get a rental income out of that of 1,200. And that is not up north, it's actually in the Midlands. So the ratio to what it costs me, mortgage and so forth, is really high in comparison to what I would have done in London. So that's always think of your ratios. Yeah. So another question. Emmanuel, there's another question, really. What's that question? Let's have a look at it. Oh, what's the interest rate in the UK? Do they mean for savers? That's coming in from Carol. Carol, do you mean, Carol Ann Gordon, do you mean for savers, or do you mean as an investor? I believe Carol Ann Gordon is in America, and that's why she's looking at that. Over to you, darling.
Well, the interest rate is it's about 3% now. It's going up. It's going to keep going up. And that was it. They say inflation 9%. It's going to continue to go up at this moment in time. Do I know the rate today? No, I don't. But you know, it's something.
But I mean, definitely with mortgages, I definitely know that mortgages will end up about 6% by January.
That's what they're saying.
They're
currently, I think, 3.5% now for. Yeah, you can still get some good rates, and that we remortgaged a property, and that came through last month, and we still managed to get 1.99 on that. But that had been going on for the last 4 months, so before it was some form of crisis. Hitting us now, and that, but they are going to go up. Definitely. And that's another thing. If you're on here and you have property, whether it be the property you live in or what, look at what I've said, that I think during the slides, look at what equity you have, speak to your accountant first, and then speak to a mortgage advisor and get yourself sorted. Okay, so we're going to close that now. I know there are questions flying in left, right, and center. We will get Andrea on again. The next live is probably going to be in September. Just before Flames, in August, just before Flames. We will let you all know about that. But that's the Brook Business Network over and out. Thank you so much to Andrea. Thank you for everything that you've shared with us. I am positively sure if you contact her through her website, she'll be able to help you for a fee, of course. And then, of course, the Brook Place Church. Thank you so much to all the teams that helped us this evening, particularly the media team, but also thank you to Apostle Oscar and Lady T for even allowing me to do such things. Most churches are not this turned on. So thank you, bless you, over and out. Good night.